It says, find an equation for the tangent line. It's back at the specified point. So in order to find, and in fact I'm going to divide this down into two pieces, I need to have the slope of the tangent, and I need to have a coordinate point on the original function. And the coordinate point is x equals 0. And if x equals 0, this would be 0 plus 1 e to the negative 2 times 0, which is 1 e to the 0, or 1. So my coordinate point is going to be 1, 1. So now I have to find the slope of the tangent. How do I find, at x equals 0, how do I do that?
Find the derivative.
Find the derivative. What is the derivative? The slope of the tangent. So now I'm going to go on this side of the thing and say, okay, f of x equals x plus 1 e to the negative 2x. So f prime of x equals the derivative of the first. We're going to use product rule. Derivative of x plus 1 is 1. E to the minus 2x plus x plus 1. The derivative of e to the 2x is what? E to the negative 2x times negative 2. So simplify. This is e to the negative 2x plus x plus 1. And actually now I need to come in and make a change, because what do I have here? A negative 2 times x plus 1 e to the negative 2x. So that's what f prime of x is. But I want the slope of the tangent, and the slope of the tangent is what? F prime at what value?
0.
0. Right, that's the slope of the tangent at x equals 0, and I'm going to put this down here. At x equals 0, because it would be different for something else. It's e to the minus 2 times 0 minus 2 times 0 plus 1 e to the minus 2 times 0. E to the 0 is just 1 minus 1 plus 0 plus 1 is 1. So it's going to be minus 2 times 1. And e to the 0 is 1. So it's 1 minus 2, or what? Negative 1. So the slope of the tangent evaluated at x equals 0, so it's going to be at x equals 0 is negative 1. So now I have the slope of the tangent. I have a coordinate point. I can find the equation of the tangent, right? So slope of the tangent is negative 1. And the coordinate point is 0, 1. So remember, y minus y1 is m times x minus x1, or y minus 1 equals negative 1 times x minus 0, or y minus 1 equals negative x, or y equals negative x plus 1. Find the equation of the tangent line. And sometimes it's helpful just to break it into the two pieces, because this is two pieces, two parts, right? You have a part which is just algebra, where you're finding the equation of the line, and you have the part which is calculus, in which you're finding the slope of that line. So break it into two pieces, finding the slope, finding the line. So if you kind of do it that way, it might be kind of less confusing than having one big jumbled problem. Any questions? The next problem is finding the second derivative. So notice we're coming back on all of this stuff. So it's not like the automatic. Find the first derivative, find the second derivative, number line, increasing, decreasing, concave up. That has nothing to do with that. This is a different application of the derivative. So that's why you have to start having these things separated in your head. So what's test 3 going to be? A combination of test 1 and 2 together. And then it gets worse. Okay, find the second derivative. So g of t equals t squared e to the minus t. And of course, we know this is what? Product rule? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So g prime of t equals 2t e to the minus t plus t squared e to the minus t times what? Negative 1. And man, you've not got to get used to that. Because remember, we're going to start working backwards. So that this is 2t e to the minus t minus t squared e to the minus t. Now there's all kinds of ways that you can come at this thing. And I'm going to start the simplification process because you know what we deal with. And I could go ahead and just do, and here's your problem. If I try to do the second derivative off of this is product rule. This is product rule. You've got double product rule. Now, if you're taking a test, do you care? No, because you're taking the first step and leave it, right? Mm-hmm. Don't care. Just have to be careful, that's all. However, we know that eventually we're going to have to simplify all this stuff. So I'm going to take you through the simplification process. G prime of t is going to be greatest common factor of t, e to the minus t. Now, I'm going to take a t, I'm going to take an e to the minus t, that leaves me with a 2, minus, I'm going to take a t and an e to minus t, that leaves me just with that. But that still is product rule in triplicate, right? T, e to the minus t, 2 minus t. Mm-hmm. So it still is product rule in triplicate. So that g double prime of t is, the derivative of t is 1, e to the minus t, 2 minus t, plus t. Now, what's the derivative of e to the minus t? E to the minus t times minus 1 times 2 minus t, plus, and now I get a t, e to the minus t, and what's the derivative of 2 minus t? Negative 1. So, now that on a test, isn't that the way you would leave it if all you had to do was find a second derivative?
Jackie?
Yes?
When you have, in the middle of the problem, you have plus t, e to the minus t. Is the e up, or is it on the same?
Oh, all these are in the same line.
Same line, okay.
Yeah. So now this becomes e to the minus t times 2 minus t plus, and actually it's not a plus anymore, it's a minus. I just love it when I have to white tape videos. I don't. Minus. That looks like a plus. Because of this minus 1, times t, e to the minus t, times 2 minus t, minus, because of the minus 1, t, e to the minus t, greatest common factor of e to the minus t, you're going to have a 2 minus t times 2 minus t minus t which is e to the minus t, 2 minus t, minus t, minus 2t, minus 1 times 2 is minus 2t, plus t squared, minus t, right? So there's a 1 in front of here, so it's 2 minus t. Minus t times 2 is minus t 2t. Minus t times minus t is plus t squared, minus t. E to the minus t times t squared. Now, I have a minus 2t and a minus t and a minus t. How many t's do I have? Negative 4t plus 2. And that's the simplified form of g prime of t. That you would take the derivative and set it equal to 0.